Hello everyone, welcome back to The Lit Life. I think I had like a total of 36 people listen to the first episode, so I'm not even sure why I'm bothering recording a second one. No, I'm kidding. I know these things take time to grow, just as my blog and my book and all that other good stuff. But I don't know, I felt like recording today and hopefully putting this out on Thursday, so I guess I'm sticking to my weekly thing so far, so I'm 2 for 2. But today I actually just got back from a student talk I did at Sullivan Heights Secondary School. That's the school I graduated from, and I knew it was going to be trippy going back there, but I'll tell you, I was not prepared for such a rush of nostalgia. And back when I was in high school, I was the exact opposite of someone who would be thought to write a book or do a podcast or be in the limelight in any shape or form, because I was super quiet, super timid, super shy. I hid from any sort of attention. I just hated that kind of thing. I kind of just like to coast through life under the radar. And then I'm not quite sure what happened, but I did like a 180 and here we are. But yeah, actually yesterday I got to be a guest speaker on the other podcast, which I mentioned last time, the Surrey Experience. And it ended up being a super long episode. It's like 45 minutes. Poor guy has to edit through all that content. And I think it's going to be up on Wednesday. So that's June 7th. I don't even know what day it is. I should know. My husband's birthday just passed. It was on June 4th. But that actually turned out to be like a really insightful episode where I got to look at my book and my writing and all the stuff I'm doing in a different light. It's always interesting what type of questions people come up with. I'm kind of sick of the generic questions of how long did it take you to write the book? I mean, come on, dig a little bit deeper. But anyways, yeah, so I thought I'd introduce a few new concepts for this podcast. So I was brainstorming ideas, and funnily enough, while I was doing so, because it always comes to me at the most random time. So I'm pulling into the parking lot of RBC. I got my windows down. I got my kid with me. And I just hear this altercation in the background. And for anyone who lives in Surrey, you know that the Scottsdale Plaza, for some reason, just attracts this kind of nonsense. So it was like an altercation between like a Caucasian man and a Punjabi guy, and all I hear is, "You effing shit skin." And then I instantly just turned and it caught my attention, because that was my idea for the very first segment. I was going to talk about stuff that ticks me off. And the first thing I wanted to talk about was ignorance and racism and stereotypes and all that lovely stuff we get to deal with when we're ethnic minorities. So needless to say, when I heard that, I was like, oh, come on. Like, how is that still happening? And how is that your go-to insult? You shit skin. I mean, whatever, the poor guy didn't even stick up for himself and say anything, or well, he didn't really get a chance to, because as soon as the guy threw that out there, he like peeled out of the parking lot like his car was on fire or something. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly the type of stuff that I want to address, and that's usually the type of content that I put out there on my blog. So ignorance and stereotypes, man, that stuff really ticks me off. So what I actually wanted to call this segment is what grinds my gears. I heard that in I couldn't pinpoint where I had heard that term, and then my husband reminded me it's from that. How many of you can name where that term is from? What grinds my gears? It's from that episode where Peter Griffin says it on a loop from Family Guy. I hate the show Family Guy, but for some reason that little bit just cracked me up. And anyway, so that's what I want to do for the first third of the show. I want to talk about stuff that pisses me off, because I'm sure if it annoys me, it must annoy a whole lot of you too. And if it doesn't, well, it should. And then the second segment of the show is I want to talk about stuff that only happens in Surrey, because there's a lot of stuff that makes this lovely, quaint little city of ours really unique. Some of it not so positive. So I had a couple of things I wanted to say about that. And then lastly, I want to give a suggestion of the day. Not that I am in any way, shape, or form someone to be handing out like advice, but just a little bit of unsolicited advice for all you who might think what I have to say is insightful. I don't know, maybe there's not many of you, maybe like 3 of the 36 might actually agree with the stuff I say, but yeah, so let's get started. So back to my story about the RBC parking lot and all that stuff. I wasn't like somebody who ever cared for social advocacy or addressing like stereotypes, racism, prejudice, that kind of stuff, until it was pointed out to me that it kind of comes hand in hand with being an ethnic minority. You can't shut your eyes to that stuff and still be like a Punjabi person living in Canada. You're going to experience it in some way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, that's just the cold, hard truth. But the thing is, you got to decide whether you're just going to submissively endure it or if you're going to do something about it. So in my case, I made a decision at a fairly young age that I wasn't just going to let that crap slide. So I can name like a million instances where it's not as blatant as like having somebody yell "you shit skin" in your face, but it's subtle racism, and you really got to address that stuff. That's the kind of stuff that it flies under the radar, and it feeds into this psyche that ethnic minorities are somehow subordinate, or that we don't belong in Canada as much as like a Caucasian or some majority member does, right? So I grew up in Prince George. I don't remember if I got into this the last episode, and even though I was only 6 years old, I became very aware that I was different from my classmates because, mind you, Prince George is a place predominantly Caucasians live there. Not a whole lot of ethnic minorities roaming around there. Maybe it's changed now. I don't know. But I was made aware at a very young age that I was different from everyone else, and my parents were different, and my family was different. We cooked different food. We owned a pizza place there, and I remember instances of like a lot of people prank calling the place and putting on like a thick Indian accent and like pretending to be Abu from The Simpsons or stuff like that. And sometimes, yeah, you can laugh it off, but if you're laughing it off and you're not really addressing it when you can, you're only making it that much more acceptable for people to keep that ignorant mentality going, and it just spreads, right? You want to try to stop it as much as you can. So I remember my dad, he never took crap from anyone, right? So I was really young, and he used to drive around with like a grass hockey stick in the back seat of his car just in case like anything went down. But yeah, imagine being 6 years old and being made to feel inferior just because of the color of your skin. I mean, it sounds so cliched to be like, and a lot of people don't even believe that that kind of stuff still happens, but I'll tell you, there's a whole other world outside of Surrey, and it's not a very nice one sometimes. So yeah, I mean, that was like the first time I was familiar with it. And then, just like our windows getting broken and stuff, just out of sheer jealousy and whatnot. But yeah, it wasn't until much later I went to Kwantlen University, and I remember in my very first class, it was English 1100, and the prof said, she held up a newspaper, and the headline read, "Monster Houses Taking Over." And I swear, I know this is going to sound cheesy, but this moment changed my life. Like, this prof is how I talked about like sparking a mind, and that's going to be the change that kind of like ignites a desire for you to like do something good for the world and create a positive change. This was the moment for me. So the prof held up the newspaper. It said "Monster House is taking over." There was a big picture of like a Surrey looking house on there, and she asked the class, "How does this make you feel? What do you guys think about this?" And we all kind of sat there dumbfounded, and we were like, "I don't know, like what do you want us to say?" Right? We were fresh out of high school, most of us scared to speak up, but being the keener I was, I put my hand up and I was like, it suggests that they're invading somehow, or that they're changing the status quo. And I guess that's pretty much what she was trying to point out, is that when you have ethnic minorities building these houses, as everyone knows in Surrey, it's all up and doing this development, right? For some reason, the media wants to portray it as something negative. The monster houses are taking over. They're taking away the land from the majority. They're somehow a bad thing. Whereas if these houses were being built in like West Vancouver by people who are not ethnic minorities, it would be like, wow, beautiful mansions pop up around the city, right? So it's what her point was, is that don't just be a passive recipient to information. Be really aware of what you're being fed and have the capability to critically analyze this kind of stuff and really like step up to the plate and be like, that's racism, even if it's so subtle as like a headline and like the angle of the picture and the way they're trying to like spin the story. It is racism at the end of the day. So that shit just started pissing me off. From that point on, that was what I became passionate about, and it followed me, man. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Then there's so many examples I can give you, but then I got a part-time job when I was like 18 at Winners in South Surrey, White Rock. Oh my gosh, yeah. So you can imagine what kind of clientele came in there, right? So I was like manning the fitting room one day, and then like this would happen time and time again. These cute old white ladies would come in, and I know they didn't mean any harm, but like they just have a way of making you very aware that you're different. So they were like to me, oh my gosh, you're so pretty. Where are you from? And I'm like, they're like, you look so exotic. Where are you from? And I'd be like, I'm from Prince George. And that wouldn't be it. That wouldn't be enough for them. They'd be, no, where are you really from? And I'd be like, Prince George. It's in northern BC. I moved here when I was 6 years old, right? So, but that wouldn't cut it for them. They needed to know. And then I'd be like, okay, yeah, my parents immigrated here from northern India, yada, yada, yada. And they'd be like, oh, you guys have the most amazing hair. What is this you guys shit? Then that started to irk me. Then that's what started ticking me off, that you guys, right? So then I kept hearing that everywhere. I know I'm starting to sound like a paranoid freak right now, like hidden messages in the way people speak. But no, I'm telling you, it's out there and you guys gotta become aware of it. So, yeah, after that, anytime somebody would be like, you guys, oh my gosh, I remember this other time, I'm buying a birthday cake for my mom from Safeway, and the cashier goes to me, you guys sure love your birthdays. Who the F doesn't love their birthday? Who's not going to go out and buy their mom a cake on their birthday? Why? Because for some reason, like, it stands out to you that, like, Indians come in and purchase. If your main demographic is Indian, you're going to notice that they're all buying, like, I don't know, man. It was just... And then I was like, what do you mean by you guys? And she started fumbling and she started trying to backtrack it. You gotta call them out on it. When everybody does it, you have racism, stereotypes, and prejudice coming from within the community, within your own culture. I mean, I like to talk a lot about how wrong it is to stereotype and marginalize people who are freshly immigrated here from India. Stop calling them dips, man. You're only making it harder for them to assimilate. You're making them more aware of their differences. You gotta be aware of that. So anyways, I rambled on way too long about that. But that's what really grinds my gears. Ignorance and stereotypes and white guys calling brown guys shit skin. But yeah, let's hope if you heard something as harsh as that, you'd at least stand up to that at that point. Which brings me to my next segment. What I want to talk about is stuff that only goes down in Surrey. And you know what? I'm not 100% sure if this only pertains to Surrey, but that's what I can speak to. So once again, oddly enough, this story has to do with the Scottsdale Plaza in Surrey. And so I noticed every time I go to the flippin' Walmart there, I have a negative experience. I swear, like now I've gained like this warrior mentality where I'm going in with my son and I'm scanning the parking lot. Nobody fucking slows down for pedestrians. Nobody, like the social norms do not apply within 10 feet of that Walmart. Like it's like do or die, man. Every man for themselves. It sounds ridiculous, but I'm telling you, there's something about that Walmart. Every time I go in there, I come out with a negative experience. I walk in there and I just know shit's gonna pop off. Like whether it's like an altercation with like another customer or one of the people who work there, I really gotta stop going there. But yeah, so the like one time I went there and I'm like asking one of the auntiya, because it's all like middle-aged brown ladies who work there. I'm like, can you help me get this down? I'm 6 months pregnant, right? So I'm not supposed to be picking up anything heavier than, I don't know, let's say 30 pounds, how much my son weighs. So I've got my son in the buggy. I'm like, can you help me pick this up? It was like, I don't know what it was, but it was something heavy. And then she's like, yeah, I'll call someone to help you. She calls someone. I stand around for 10 minutes. Nobody shows up. Go to the next auntie. And she goes, why don't you leave your son here and go get it? And bring it in another buggy, because my buggy was full, right? So that's what I explained to them. I'm like, my buggy's full. I need some help to purchase this thing. I'm like, you want me to leave my kid here? She's like, yeah, I'll watch him. What the hell are you working there for if you don't actually want to work? Like, I don't understand. Is it like, are they treating all the customers this way, or do they think we have some sort of secret understanding because we're both brown, and for some reason they think I'm not going to complain? Because anybody who knows me knows I'm that girl. I will go find the manager. But guess what? The freaking manager was even worse. She was like the head of all of them, and she was so lazy. I don't know. Like that Walmart is like killing the Walmart name. I know it's not like, all of you are probably like, it's Walmart, what do you expect? I'm telling you, it's so bad when you go there. And then this other time, I had this like auntie who was shopping there. She was like shadowing everything I would pick up. So I started like John K picking up shit that I knew I wasn't gonna buy, and she was like, she would just examine everything I would look at and pick up the exact same thing. And I was like, this is too much. Why do I keep subjecting myself to this? But yeah, I'm telling you, only in Surrey will you experience something like that, where you get mouthed off in Punjabi by the people working there just for asking for some help. Like, holy smokes, I don't know, man. I really need to stop going there. But yeah, I have rambled on for quite some time now. I really want to know, like, what else you guys want to hear from me. I mean, this time I kind of veered into a different direction. I didn't really talk a whole lot about my book, but just to give you guys an update what's going on with that. I'm currently in the works of trying to find an agent to represent the book, just so I can shop it around to some bigger publishing houses, so I can have it internationally distributed, because that is my goal. My goal is to have it reach as many people as it possibly can. I'm actually headed to Toronto, Brampton specifically, the chapters there, to do a book signing and meet and greet there, and I'm super excited about that. Hopefully I get a good turnout. And yeah, everybody who comes out and supports me during these signings, and they come and get their book signed, thank you so much. You have no idea how much it means to me. I'm all about positive feedback, positive encouragement. That's what keeps me going. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, as for next steps with the book, pretty much just I just want to have it mass distributed and just get it out there, because I really feel like it could make a huge difference in not just like the Surrey South Asian community, but like everywhere, every South Asian community everywhere, and even beyond the South Asian community. I think there's a lot that people from other cultures can take away from this too. Maybe it'll stop some of that prejudice and racism from happening. But oh right, the last segment. So my suggestion for this week is for you all to write down 3 goals, no matter how far-fetched they seem, no matter how ridiculous or unattainable it seems. Don't think about whether it's realistic or not. Just write 3 goals down, and then I want you to start thinking about how you can immerse yourself in the world of each of those goals. How can you make them happen? So for me, it would be like, get my book mass distributed, keep making these podcasts, and keep having the courage to go around doing these student talks. Because I'll tell you, of course, I'm human. I get nervous just like everyone else, but I'm facing my fears. I'm challenging my inner demons, and I hope you all do the same. So thank you very much for listening to the second episode. I look forward to hearing your feedback, and take care.